Good evening and welcome to the Power of Now. I'm Coach Mitchell
And I'm Coach Darren.
and we are MD Coaching
Coaching
and
and Consulting.
Consulting. Welcome to tonight's session. We certainly missed you guys last week, but hopefully you all had a great and safe holiday. There was so much going on, so we are hopeful that you all had a wonderful holiday experience. Tonight, we're going to talk about surrender. We're going to talk about letting go of society's expectations and really embracing or exploring and embracing our true, authentic selves.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges that we have when we're trying to grow, even just trying to experience life, is we want to control everything, and we end up fighting for things which really becomes wasted energy.
Mm-hmm.
And just for clarification, when we're talking about surrender, we're not talking about giving up. I think that's the first thing.
Right. We need to let people know that. Mm-hmm.
Because surrender has such a negative connotation, meaning we've lost, we're giving up. In this case, when you're talking about surrender, you're talking about not giving up, but really tapping in. And I like to say, tapping into something greater than yourself.
Right. And not talking about giving up hope.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're talking about resilience. When we talk about surrender in this discussion, we're talking about hope and resilience, not letting go. Not letting go of hope.
Yes, not giving up. I think that's real important because again, we're just taught, we're conditioned that surrender, and there is a surrender that does mean giving up, but that's not what it means here.
Right.
Like I said, it means tapping in, and it means tapping in from the perspective that you've done all that you think that you're capable of doing. And that's really a good sign because that means you've hit a roadblock in your growth process, where but you got to truly believe that you've done all that you believe you can do. You can't see surrender when you haven't done everything is giving up. Surrender when you've done everything and you're not getting that breakthrough, you're basically turning it over. But like I say, something greater than yourself, whatever you choose, to call that.
Right. And you can also say that when you really surrender control, because that's what you're doing, you're letting go of the assumed control.
Yes.
And you're not focusing on or fixated on what the desired outcome would be. You're just letting it go and focusing on the present moment. I mean, that's what the power of now is all about, right? Maximizing the moments, the meantime, right? In the moment. So I think it's important that we understand that when we surrender control, it's letting go of that false belief or narrative that we're really steering our own destiny.
Right.
And we're going to get to the outcome that we want to get to, which 9 times out of 10, it fails.
Mm-hmm.
It fails, right? Because it does not allow us to, I would say, terminate our fixation on the result.
Mm-hmm.
Because in our minds, we have a preconceived notion of what that result should look like.
Yes.
And how we should get there. Because I think a lot of times the most well-laid plans have issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the exact saying off the top of my head, but
what you're going to say. There's a couple of variations. Go ahead.
But you really, in order to really get to, I would say, a result that's going to be satisfying, we have to let go and allow the process. Not to say we shouldn't plan and have a strategy. Plans are meant to change and shift, because the best laid out and well thought out plans have bumps in the road.
Yes.
They cause you to have things that happen, cause you to have to shift, because you may not have thought about something that, or anticipated something that may occur down the road. So that's why it's important to understand that you can't really control every single aspect of where you're headed, because those hiccups in the road allow for growth.
Yes.
And they allow you to recalibrate.
You made me think of when I used to teach, business strategy, and I would articulate to people what was the difference between a plan and a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, someone, for instance, we plan to go to the store. You lay everything out, A, B, C, D, E. That's your plan. Your strategy factors in all the things that may happen and how you're going to respond. But I thought you were going to say earlier, there's two people who are given credit for this quote. One is Mike Tyson, and one is the late General Colin Powell. And Mike Tyson would say, every boxer has a plan going into the ring until he gets that first punch. The first time you're punched in the head or in the face, everything changes in that moment.
Right.
That all you can do is then figure out how do you respond. And that's when your resiliency comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back really to the core, or the meaning of surrender, is when you were talking about control. And I think that is a major aspect where we really come into the acknowledgement that we are co-creators in our journey.
Mm-hmm.
We are not the captain of this ship alone.
Right.
And like I said, you can call it whatever you want, but things are going to happen that are just out of your control.
Right.
And our first reaction is we might want to slip into the victim mode. But part of surrendering isn't being a victim. It's more or less I like to say, it's going with the flow. In the description for tonight's, event, I mentioned, Muhammad Ali as someone who surrendered. And most people probably don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see the likes of Muhammad Ali or someone like Colin Kaepernick, who may have surrendered. And in their case, what they did is they surrendered to what the society thought you were supposed to be. Muhammad Ali, during his prime, he was a boxer. But his principal said, I'm not going to go fight in this war. I don't believe that.
Correct.
So I'm going to surrender this belief that people think I'm supposed to be to who I actually am.
Correct.
And in the process of surrendering, life made him bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he imagined, but when you think about the evolution of this individual between being, again, a young boxer with a big mouth to now becoming an icon for humanity globally.
Right. And I mean, I think those are two excellent examples of individuals who surrendered the norm, and the standard deviation is that 1% who did not acquiesce to fitting into the mold of this society, right? And standing for what they truly believed was right. And, we all know Muhammad Ali, one of his things, one of his issues was, I'm not going to fight a war and fight people that have not, done anything against me. So why would I go out and fight them? And then with Kaepernick taking the knee, absolutely. I'm going to take a knee, because if we stand for liberty and freedom and justice for all, that equality encapsulates all of us. But when you exclude a group of people or groups of people under the guise of equality and equality, then his taking the knee was that stance to say, I'm going to surrender the norm and I'm going to stand for what is right.
I'm going to stand for my principle. I'm going to surrender my career.
Exactly.
I'm not going to fight to hold on for that.
Exactly.
I moved on. So, and there have been, many people who surrendered something to become something else. And in tonight's, description, I also mentioned too that we tend to get caught, I call it, in a valley of despair, because sometimes when life's not going the way we want, we get caught between what our desired reality versus our current reality. And in that valley, if we don't acknowledge or surrender to the way things are happening, we experience what is pain and suffering.
Exactly.
Whereas a person that might go, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to deal with it as it is, so I can then move forward. Versus a person who's going to constantly fight, complain about the way it is, and never move from that place.
Right. And not understanding that to surrender means that you're giving up something that's holding you back.
Yes.
So that you can grow.
You can grow. Absolutely.
Right. So if you're stuck in that space, that weight is holding you down. That weight is holding you down, not realizing if you just let it go. And my motto is let go and let God.
Yes.
And once you let him have his way, your path is made a whole lot clear.
Yes.
A whole lot clear. And your burden's a lot lighter.
Yes. And that's what, and that doing that is what opens you up to, as I say, the magic. Because you're now saying, you know what? Yeah, my intent was to do this. And again, I'll go back to one on. Hey, I'm in here, I'm a boxer. Something happened in his path, in his journey, that forced him to do something else. And he just said, you know what? If this is the fight we're going to have, it won't be in a ring for me.
Right.
I'm going to surrender that. I'm going to take on this other battle. I'm going to stand in my principle. And it made him, I mean, when you really think about it, for him to then come back to his career and then win again, and then again, and then to be the humanitarian he became much bigger, and it shut down all the people that, vilified him.
That's right.
Because all those people that vilified him, for him to turn around and become loved by so many other people. So just having the awareness or the acceptance, because I'm not sure if it was his intent at that time, or for Colin Kaepernick or anybody else, to say, I'm going to become bigger than life. It was more or less, you know what?
I think it was trusting in themselves and trusting that they were doing the right thing.
Yes.
And that within itself shows the authenticity of a person's heart. And I think that's where the development of stronger relationships come into play, because people see your character and they can't help but admire it.
Yes. They may not admit it.
Right, exactly.
Well, they know it's there.
Exactly. And it may take them some time to come around. Those who don't are the ones who probably feel a twinge of envy because they were not strong enough themselves to commit to the belief that they really have within themselves. So I think that, or they were not strong enough to surrender.
Yes, because that's the other aspect of surrendering when we talk about in this case. It is a courageous act because you are letting go. You are giving up the illusion of control and just saying, I'm going to trust, you know what? I'm going to trust God, I'm going to trust the universe, I'm going to trust life, but to, give me whatever it chooses to, and I'm going to deal with it as such. And that's, like I said, and it's not just throwing your hands up, it's just knowing that, you know what? I'm capable. I'm going to do whatever I can, or I've done all I can in this moment with this particular situation, and I'm going to let go.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, So yes, it is a courageous act. What you going to say?
I was just going to piggyback off of that and just say that it's just a matter of being able to find that balance.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think those two examples, those two people as examples, have or were able to find that balance of where they needed to exert control or release it or relinquish it, I should say. And I think that in exerting it, I think Kaepernick found a platform that he probably had in his heart all along that he wanted to express, but there probably hadn't been any opportunities that were so unfortunately egregious that would allow him to just give up all that he had, because he knew taking that knee was going to cost him. He knew surrendering to what he really believed. He couldn't turn a deaf ear to it or a blind eye, because at this point, everyone had had enough. But he decided that his enough was enough, and he was going to do something about it. He was going to take action.
Yeah.
So I think, knowing that, finding that balance between exerting control and then knowing where it's meaningful to exert or take an action.
Yes.
And being able to stand through it. That's
Yes.
the other thing. You have to be able to persevere because when you take a stand like that, had he given up when the pressure was on, when they suspended him, when they attacked his finances, when they attacked his character, had he given up, one, it would have been all for naught, and it would have been a laughable event.
Something, I find interesting that when you see people like this, it's a testament to, life brings you to take on challenges, and then it prepares you with everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
Because rarely do you see someone become this, we'll say, martyr, and not see it through.
Right.
Somehow, again, everyone may have a different perspective or opinion, but it's just the way it happens. Like, you know what? You find yourself in this place, and for some reason, we'll say they grow into, the person that they're just meant to be. It was a calling, for lack of a better way of putting it,
Mm-hmm.
and they stood up for it. And it's more than, I used to challenge people with, it's easy to where you're, being a revolutionary with just the talk, until you're challenged to put something up. When you sacrifice something, then we can have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm not impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just talk about what we should do. When you challenge something, you give up a career for something that you believed in, and you usually know, because some people around you will tell you that you're crazy. You're going to lose this, you're going to lose that, and you stand true to who you are, which is tied to, in a previous session, we talked about who am I.
Mm-hmm.
I think these people have an idea. They've had the conversations, some inner conversations with themselves
Right.
over the year, that now they're being tested. And I'm not even sure to say they're tested. They're being called to take on what, again, maybe deep down inside their soul, was, has been looking for. Like what you said, they had it inside of them, and here was the moment that they were called to let it go, to let it out.
Absolutely. And I think the test doesn't come from within. The test comes from external sources, right? So they were called, but the test was being imposed upon them by society.
Oh yeah, it was definitely an external. I agree. External.
I got another Bible reference for that, right? when Satan took Jesus to the led him into the wilderness. But when Jesus went off to pray and Satan tempted him with 3 questions, and he said, if you are the Son of God, then you're able to do. And it was 3 different things. It was 3 different things. And from within him, Jesus was like, but the word of God says, for it is written, thou shalt not test God, thou shalt not live by bread alone. So, and it was from within that he found his strength, so that he would not have to submit to the external test of Satan. So I think that's the same for Kaepernick and Muhammad Ali. Things came at them. People came at them trying to test their resolve. And when they had surrendered to society, the norms of society, I should say, they were able to stand strong.
Yes.
In their countenance and convictions.
Which again, it's also, it validates the belief or the statement that we all have so much more within us that we don't tap into because we're usually afraid. You know what? It could be for various reasons. But,
well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but there's usually some fear, and therefore we don't put ourselves in any situation that will really help us grow.
Well, you just hit upon a good point, because fear of uncertainty sometimes paralyzes us.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And if we don't embrace the unknown, we can't grow.
That's where all the magic happens.
That's where all the magic happens. That's where all the magic happens.
In the unknown.
Exactly. And if you're not strong enough to persevere through the uncertainty, then unfortunately there is no development. There's no growth, and you won't realize your purpose because you're too timid and afraid. And you've been around people who are timid and afraid of everything, even their own shadow. It's disheartening to see that people are so comfortable with what I would call, for lack of a better description, a posture of lack and helplessness and mediocrity, that they're okay with staying where they are.
Yes.
So,
but I just want to say to anybody listening that, your magic, your growth, everything always happens in the space of the unknown. That's the only place it can happen. Because if you know it, then there's no room for growth. You know what? I grow from learning something new. And that is even from a pure physical perspective. If you again look at, when you hear talk about how to prevent certain brain diseases and the constant learning, well, your brain is, again, it's responding, and it's growing in its own way. But yes, we get caught up in what is comfortable. I heard it once said that we're not afraid of the unknown beginning. We're afraid of the known ending. And I thought, it was like, that's pretty interesting, which is it. Are you holding on and refusing to surrender your comfortability to just say, you know what, I'm going to step out. And this kind of goes back because people will talk about, I have faith. And I remember one comedian making a joke, and forgive me for this, but said, how much faith could the Pope have if he's riding around in a bulletproof, vehicle? Are you going to have faith? Are you going to step out there and allow your faith to be tested and trust that you're going to be okay?
Have that Peter faith.
Yeah.
You got to have the faith of Peter. You got to step off the boat.
Yes.
And know that you're going to walk on water.
Yes. And you're going to be, and again, people confuse with Being okay with meaning everything's going to just be fine, all right? No, being okay doesn't mean that you're not going to go through a storm.
That's right.
It means you're going to persevere through the storm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And you hit on a couple of good points where relinquishing that control, surrendering, and having faith means you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
You have to move out of your comfort zone in order to grow. Because otherwise, you don't know what your capabilities are.
Yes.
How do you know what you're capable of doing if you never try, if you never make the effort, if you never move outside of your area of comfort,
Yes.
if you don't explore new possibilities? You have to. That's imperative. Never let the grass grow under your feet. And the only way that it won't grow under your feet is if you're moving.
Yes.
You have to constantly be in a perpetual state of learning. Like you said,
Yes.
you need to be able to learn from experiences so that you can move on. Otherwise, you may not, or you won't be exposed to the unlimited possibilities.
Yes. Ask yourself, are you comfortable really saying, I surrender to whatever God, life, the universe has in store for me. I'm open to the possibilities. Whatever comes my way, I'm going to be open to experiencing. And if you can get to the point of saying that, then yes, you have totally surrendered. Now, granted, there are degrees of surrender between maybe where you are and total, and it's a journey.
Mhm.
I give you an example. If you want to begin the process, I always go, I don't know why this comes to mind, but I always give an example of people being late for something,
Mhm.
and then you talk about how you have the conversation in your head about what's going to happen when you walk in, and
Mhm.
somebody's going to say something to you, and you get yourself all built up, and you walk in, and none of that happens.
Right.
Here's another example using that same scenario. The next time you feel stressed about something, such as you're running late, try just surrendering to, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll get there when I get there,
Mhm.
and whatever happens, happens. It's not going to be the end of the world. I'm only late for a meeting. I'm only
Correct.
late for something. I'm going to just accept whatever happens and deal with it. There's a way when you begin the surrendering process
Mhm.
on a much smaller scale.
Right. And if you trust that things are going to work out, because the only way things won't work out if you're late for that meeting and the meeting is over when you get there.
Right.
It's still going to work out one way or the other,
Yes.
to your advantage or not. However, like you said, if you just trust that things will work out, it'll alleviate the fear that comes with trying to control and having the need for excessive control.
Yes. And that's part of, like I said, in that scenario, you just have to say, I can't control how other people will respond.
Right.
And it's kind of an ego-driven process to think that I can. The fact that you're even in that space, worrying about, oh, well, what so and so want to say, or this person's going to say that, and I don't care if they say blah blah. You have all this in your head. Just you surrender. I'm running late. Certain things happen. Stuck in traffic. Whatever it might be, it is what it is. And that statement that had become so popular is really a mantra for surrender.
It is, and I can't stand that statement, but it is. It is, but I think you said something that's real critical and I think advantageous is stop narrating the story in your head.
Mhm.
And I won't say narrating just the story, but stop trying to play all of the parts.
Yes.
Because you don't know what someone else is thinking.
Mhm.
All you can do is be in your present moment, deal with what's happening in your space, and just wait to hear, speak, or talk to someone else to see what feedback they may have.
Yes.
But stop with the stories in your head, because that's where you get in trouble.
And when you're really, aligned with that which is greater than yourself, when you're really aligned, things, and again, if you tell yourself it's going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to work out. That thing you might be stressing about, like that meeting, you find out it's office. It's like, oh God, they ready meeting? Oh, they canceled it.
So you just wasted all that adrenaline and those endorphins on nothing.
Yes.
On stress for nothing.
Like, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. That's where your faith and trust come in. You let go and just trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, that's where you're, again, that unknown is where the magic happens. And I think the stronger your faith and your trust, the more the universe will conspire to take to cover you.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens.
Yeah, and the more that you are able to really surrender that control, it can tremendously help reduce and eliminate or alleviate some of your fear,
Oh yeah.
the stress that we were just talking about, and it helps foster personal growth because you're not afraid to take on new challenges. You're not afraid to take on new challenges, and it helps you become more adaptable.
Yes.
You're able to adapt and adjust in certain situations more so than when you think we say control, but we're really not in control.
No.
We're really not in control because we're suppressing a part of ourselves when we do that, by not taking advantage or capitalizing off of things. We're suppressing our innate desire and need for growth.
Well, yes.
We're handicapping ourselves.
Yes. And again, it's the illusion of control.
Yes.
Because again, we can't control things that happen to us. We can control how we respond.
That's right.
No matter how hard we try, which puts us in a position where we're co-creating our reality. We do the best that we can. And like I said, you're going to run up some challenges where you're going to throw your hands up. And Coach Country, we just had a conversation before, how people who are already there, when most people hear how they deal with life, it freaks other people out. And for example, the person who might say, I'm not worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean you're not worried? Because there's nothing I can do.
Nothing I can do.
Okay. So I'm good. Every day they say everything's going to be okay. Well, if that was me, I'd be stressing. I'd be pulling my hair out. Okay, that's true.
Yeah, and that person is allowing external factors to limit their capability, and it's actually controlling their emotions, and it's confining and restricting them from moving forward.
Yes. Anytime your thoughts and emotions are the result of something external to you, you are actually a victim.
A victim.
You may not like it, but you're a victim. It's when you can, again, control your thoughts and emotions in spite of what's going on around you. And that's been said in so many ways, so many ancient teachings and scripture and even poems. To be able to keep your head about you when others are losing theirs. I mean, it's all there, and yet we get caught up in certain things. And part of it, Coach Mitchell, is because we've been conditioned that this is how we're supposed to behave.
Yes.
Because letting go, and say letting go and let God. When
Mm-hmm.
someone's really in that space,
Mm-hmm.
it bothers other people.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, you're supposed to be worried about this. And if I can, it just deviate into two other spaces, one kind of good, one kind of bad, but they both show signs of the benefit of surrendering. I'm gonna go with the kind of bad one first. And I'm saying bad because it's basically saying when someone is at the point of dying, they're about to transition.
Mm-hmm.
A person will come to this point of surrendering. And that's the ultimate, they're surrendering life. I'm ready. I am ready. My soul has told me that it's time.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They'll even say they've come to the realization this is not the end. And for all of us, we're looking at it like, oh my goodness, no, don't go.
Right, right.
But they've surrendered,
Uh-huh.
and it gives them power. Then on the other side, where surrender works in your benefit,
Mm-hmm.
because when you fight, it's exhausting. Is to fight. Many songs say, "Don't fight the feeling." How many people have ever been in a relationship and you fought your emotions that prevented you from falling in love with someone?
Oh yeah.
You
Or what's external voices have imposed upon you,
Mhm.
and you acquiesced to them.
Yes.
Right.
That somehow, somewhere, whatever it might be, you know that you're fighting. But you also have a voice inside of you telling you, just go ahead and let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they call it falling in love. You gotta let go
In
and
order
let
to
it
fall,
happen.
right?
Yeah.
You gotta let go in order to fall.
Yes. So, but yet, we fight, those feelings. I was having kind of a mini coaching session today with someone who might be fighting their, I asked them to be aware if they're fighting their success.
Mm.
I said, because you're doing a lot of complaining and you're in this space where you're being blessed with a lot of things. Why are you complaining and being moved into this space of negativity for every little nuance that happens to you? I said, if you're driving and someone comes close to you, you go off the handle. If you're in the store, you're venting because someone's not moving fast enough. You're in your space of glory right now,
Mm-hmm.
and yet there's a lot of negative energy coming from you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fighting your success? I said, surrender. You should be in this space where your light should be shining.
Mm-hmm.
That you were accepting and appreciating. Like I said, take your blessings and your success with grace and gratitude, and let it come through all of who you are right now. Because we know life is cyclic,
Mm-hmm.
and something's going to come at some point. May not be in your professional success,
Right.
but something's going to occur that's going to, kind of throw you off that path.
Disrupt you, right?
Yes, disrupt. So enjoy it, express it. Use this as a period of building.
I think a lot of people don't realize the reservoir of potential that resides within them.
Yes.
And when you do, those small things don't matter.
No, they don't matter.
They don't matter. And you can actually turn it around in that moment if you were tapped into the true essence of who you are.
Yes.
And it's easy to do.
Yes.
When you're mindful.
Yep. It takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that if everybody, like I said, on your journey, actually, before I forget, Coach Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anybody to acknowledge?
No, I would have jumped right on
Okay.
in, but that's not to be tonight.
Okay, all right, well, we'll keep going.
Yes, sir.
Is take time, day to day and try to find opportunities to surrender your control and trust. If you're a parent, there's going to be plenty of opportunities that you're going to need to surrender because as parents, we constantly worry about it doesn't matter how old your child is.
Oh, that's true.
I remember one, saying that to me at the time I was in my 40s, and I just, again being a 40-year-old man, I'm like, Mom, I'm good. And she said something and it stuck to me. And now to be in that position with a child almost that age is, she said, no, you don't always worry about your children. But you want to be able to let go and trust that they're going to find their way. And it's their journey. It's not yours.
That's right.
And it's hard, but that will be, and if you got younger children, same thing. You got certain things. You have to just trust that they're going to be okay. So what they felt.
Right.
Step over them, right?
Exactly.
They're going to be okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that if people, or if we as people, like I said, really embrace the fullness of who we are, our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, without judging ourselves,
Yes.
then we would be able to move beyond our egos.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the time. But I think most of the time we have a lot of self-doubt. We have a lot of negative narrative in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all against ourselves. We are our own worst enemies sometimes. Mm-hmm. So we have to surrender that negative aspect of ourselves too in order to really see our full potential.
Yes.
And meet ourselves on the spectrum that we are, which is higher. It's a higher elevation than we give ourselves credit for.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. And it's because we haven't moved out of our comfort zone to allow ourselves to be challenged in new ways, which again leads to new growth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we become we become comfortable, confident, and even, we'll say, egotistical about being in this one lane of life.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often, we probably have not even reached the pinnacle in that one lane.
Yep.
Because that limitation is going to play out in multiple ways. So again, without the awareness, you can never change it. So you want to kind of begin looking at your behavior. Ask yourself, am I dealing with the fears and the doubts? Because first of all, you have to be willing to acknowledge it. Your ego will rationalize that it's not fear, it's not doubt, because remember, your ego also wants to protect you.
And your ego is limited.
Oh, yes.
Your ego is limited. Yeah. I'm over here fighting a gnat.
Okay. and it's also, as some say, it's fictitious.
Exactly. Because it wants to keep you in your comfort zone.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's going to give you every excuse that you really subconsciously want so that you don't have to move forward.
Yes. Because we know when you do move into an uncomfortable space, there's initially some pain and discomfort there, which you try to avoid. But just look at everything that you do now, at one time you didn't know how to do. Mm-hmm. It's, I try to put people at ease. Like I said, maybe you walk in some place and you walk into someone who's being trained, begin like someone behind the cash register, it's their
Mhm.
first day or whatever, and they're trying to figure things out. And if it's crowded, you can see the panic,
Yes.
in their
Yes.
face. And I was talking to people, and he's like, "Listen, we've all been there.
Hmm.
I'm good. You go ahead. You do you.
Right.
I'm gonna be okay." I
Take
say,
your time.
yes, I say that wherever I find myself, that's where I'm supposed to be. So if I'm delayed in this 5 minutes while you get yourself together, for some reason I'm supposed to be here
That's right.
now. So, because people soon forget, and this goes back to the judgment, that you immediately jump off, why is this space so? At some point in time, you didn't know your job, somebody taught you, you fumbled, and guess what? You've mastered it. So if you step into an unknown again, the same thing will happen if you just hang in there.
That's right.
And that's how you begin to, again, learn to surrender to the unknown and trust that you're going to be okay.
Yep. And it's there where you discover your power.
Yes.
You discover your abilities, your capabilities, your competence,
Mm-hmm.
what you really desire to do and be.
Mm-hmm.
And you operate with a sense of excellence because you're operating from the authentic or your authenticity.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, just for clarification, I just want to say to people, doesn't mean that you go out and you just act carelessly, like, oh, I'll be okay. Let me jump off this building without a parachute. No. It means you still do whatever you can along the way and trust that the universe will step in and fill in the gaps for you when your heart and mind are aligned in the right place.
That's right. It's an invitation to explore what your capabilities are.
Yes.
And that word explore means to seek, search, and find.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean, like you said, to be, a daredevil.
Right.
Devil may care, toss it to the wind and throw it up against the wall and see what sticks.
Yes.
It means to explore the areas of your life that you feel that tug in your inner being, that that's where you feel it in your inner being.
Yes.
And in the spaces, in the places, and the people that you interact with, where you're in you're performing your best self.
Yes.
Or you're giving the best of who you are and you're feeling good about it. And you have that, wow, was that really me moment?
I call that the Urkel.
Yeah. Did I do that?
Yes.
Did I do that? So where, when you're exploring that part of surrender, when you have those feelings of elation and jubilation and you feel good, not because you took a shortcut, but because you put in the work and you got it done. And it was like, wow.
And I think another, when it comes to that, it's really determining, are you surrendering in the right places? Because you're stepping outside of your comfort zone may be different than someone stepping outside of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Somebody who life might be, they love riding roller coasters. That's their thrill. But they won't take the thrill of, say, starting that new business that they want. Right? So their comfort zone is different than, say, yours. So it's about you on your journey, not to compare yourself to someone else. But as Coach Richardson said, because that inner voice it's going to talk to you. It's going to nudge you. You should be doing this. You can do this. What's holding you back? Nothing but your thoughts.
Yep.
And most of those thoughts aren't even your thoughts. Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right.
So you really want to really begin. I'm just a believer that everything starts with a greater awareness.
Yep.
As you become more aware of things, it allows you to then change the things that don't work for
That
you.
don't work for you. Yeah.
That no longer serve you. And just one other thing, I mentioned before that we've heard people say things like, well, people just need to accept me the way I am, and my response has always been that no, they don't. People don't have to accept you. It's like your choice to be who you are, to remain who you are. That's your choice. It's other people's choice to say, no, that doesn't work for me. I don't like that. I don't want that in my space anymore.
And usually people who say that are people who really have a problem with themselves anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they've recognized that they need to be better.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't want to do the work to be better.
Mm-hmm. Because it is such a limited belief. People say it again from a very arrogant form. They believe it's confidence, but it's not. It's very limited belief.
Mm-hmm.
You should not even accept yourself for who you are today, because if you're in a constant, perpetual state of growth, you're always looking to figure out what other areas can I grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you say, you know what, people need to accept me as I am, then you're saying, this is it for me. This is the end of my journey. I'm not going to evolve anymore. And you want to take that assessment to really find out, are there areas of your life for improvement? And I believe there always are.
Absolutely. As you said in the description, this is vast.
Yes.
Our natures are vast. And the more that we accept that and we surrender to the vastness of our true nature, then we're able to cultivate deeper self first acceptance, compassion. We're able to really drill down to identifying what our true purpose is, what it is that we truly want to do and be, that it gives us a sense of honor.
Yes.
It gives us a sense of honor, and it strengthens our vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which first, you want to be open to being vulnerable, because again, that's the unknown.
mm-hmm.
It's part of the unknown, and again, that's where your power, aspect of your power, is going to reside. But again, going back to the title, the vastness of who we are is so much more than we ever comprehend, because we've been conditioned from birth. We come into this world with everything, and then it just gets suppressed, repressed, evaporated, destroyed in so many ways by the system. I use the word, and people gonna think, oh, this is sci-fi, but if you got, any biblical scholars out there, you can look it up. It's in the Bible too. The term matrix. When you look at the movie, there was so much meaning in terms in that movie about our limited beliefs and how it prevents our growth. And I don't know if anybody's watched it, but especially the first one, there is so much there, where they talk about how our limited beliefs prevent us. And we have so much to tap into, and most of us do not even come close to learning. And I'll put it this way: we are more point blank, we are more fascinated by the external than the internal. We are more fascinated by our mobile phone and the features of it, or our TVs, than we are with the inner workings of our mind, body, and spirit.
That is true. And I'm just gonna back up a little bit, and I'm gonna make a correction. I don't think the word matrix is in the Bible. I'm gonna have to research that.
Please do.
But
I'm not a biblical scholar, all right?
I'm not a biblical scholar either. I just haven't seen the word matrix. So I just said I'm gonna have to research that. So I don't want people like, oh, it's it's the matrix. But I'm gonna have to research that, and you should too. But it could be in a translation that I'm not familiar with. But nevertheless, I think that if I could do a correlation, it would be that, we were formed or predestined to be, I would say, supreme beings in the womb before we were even born. So I would think that we need to celebrate our uniqueness. Let me just put it that way. We need to celebrate our uniqueness. And as you were saying, we as people have been defined, and our true essence and our uniqueness has been hidden away because of all of what has been imposed upon us as to who we should be, how we should act accordingly in this walk of life, right? And that we've forgotten that the uniqueness of a person is what makes us awesome, right? That's what makes us awesome, is our unique qualities. So
we spend a good portion of our life seeking acceptance, and we mold ourselves to being accepted. And in some cases, even our motivation to be different is to be accepted.
Yep.
That may sound strange, but when your motivation to be different is driven by, hey, look at me, I'm different, then you're basically seeking to be accepted. It's when you can stand alone, be who you are, and you could care less if people
what someone else is doing, or whether they accept you or not. And you can really test that by how you react and respond to other people's successes or failures. Are you comparing yourself? Are you trying to adopt their characteristics to try to fit into a certain mold or fit a certain description or narrative that is not authentically you?
Right.
So if you're doing that, then that should give you cause for pause, to reassess, to say, wait, maybe I do need to sit down and consider surrendering control, in the sense that I need to find out who I am.
Yes.
So that I'm not flip-flopping. Because that's going to keep you in that mental space of competing against others, comparing yourself, or wondering. Exactly.
And if you've been in this on this path of self-discovery, you will also be able to pick up or observe other people who are trying to find themselves. And come across in their conversation and in their behavior, if they're focused, again, you talk to someone that's constantly on everything else outside of them, and they're not talking about what they're doing on their journey, then they're probably, if they're not trying to find themselves, they're kind of in denial or avoidance. They're comfortable in their own little cubbyhole, and it's kind of like, don't bother me, they're bunched up, I'm okay. I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson. That did quote about living in quiet desperation. There are so many people who, again, they don't want to come out of their comfort zone. They don't want to be bothered. And when you challenge them, they do with most living creatures do when they get backed into a corner. They become vicious. And you go on with the intent of trying to help them, and they end up attacking you. That's when you know what? You back away. They're not ready. You just let them be.
Yep. And I think on that note,
Perfect time.
surrendering to your vastness, really trying to get to a place of acceptance. It's ongoing process.
Mhm.
It is an ongoing process. So it's a dance between self-exploration, trying to self-transcend from the stagnant parts of life, accepting who you are, your unique self, accepting your unique self, and I'll quantify it,
Yes.
your true, authentic self. And once you accept your true, authentic self, that's your baseline.
Yes.
That's what you work from. You don't work from someone else's definition of who you are. But it takes courage of embracing the unknown, being able to face the truth, and being okay with working through that truth as it applies to your life, and just unfolding your authentic path
Yes.
as you walk this journey.
Just consider this. The same physical stance can have different meanings based on your intentions. And what is that stance? You can throw your hands up and say, I give up. Or you can throw your hands up and say, I surrender. And it's your intentions behind the posture that will determine the response you get.
Absolutely. So reclaim your power,
Yep.
align with your purpose, and embark on your journey of self-realization in this vast universe, in the vastness of discovering who you are. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
It's been great to spend a little bit of time with you tonight. Listen, join us back here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for Wellness Wednesday, where we will be showing you some techniques on how to grow your own hydroponic microgreens. And microgreens are very nutritious.
Yes.
You can use them in your smoothies, your salads, whatever. They are a power green, and we are going to show you how you can grow them for yourselves at home for under $10.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So be there.
We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And remember, did you have something else to say, Coach?
No, go ahead. I'm done. I surrender.
Maximize, maximize your moments, and remember that there will be no next if you do not start now. Have a great evening.
Peace.